Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I am All in Crypto, and today we are going to be talking about Hedera and what is all the hype about. Now, you guys will know that we have mentioned Hedera previously on this channel. We looked at ISO 20022 compliant cryptocurrencies, and of course, Hedera was one of them. And we've also looked at the origins of Hedera and looked at it from more of a technical point of view in regards to really exploring their DAG and everything going on with the project. Today, I really want to focus on what is the hype about. And I think there's this new class of cryptocurrencies that are institutional friendly or institutionally friendly. And that actually, instead of what kind of Bitcoin was born out of and Ethereum with this kind of decentralized government and institution bad. So we want to, kind of rebuild it in a decentralized, perhaps fairer manner. You've got the likes of Hedera and many of the ISO 20022 standard cryptos that actually don't look to do that, but look to apply this technology, which is absolutely a revolution, blockchain and cryptography, and implement it into the traditional financial world. And some of them, like Quant and others, are actually looking to merge and bring the two worlds together with sort of overlay systems, operating systems. But Hedera is, I think, very much an institutional grade cryptocurrency. We'll get into what Hedera is, the consensus, the DAG side of things, and then we're going to look at partnerships and how these guys are actually making waves and talk about the governing council, which has some of the largest names in regards to the institutional space going. So what is the hype about with Hedera? Well, let's get into it. Let's start off with what Hedera Hashgraph actually is. So Hedera Hashgraph is a public distributed ledger based on the Hashgraph algorithm. Hashgraph is essentially a DAG. We'll cover that when we move on to how it works. It is developed by a company of the same name, Hedera, based in Dallas, Texas. Hedera is the only public ledger that uses Hashgraph consensus, which is faster and more secure alternative to blockchain consensus mechanisms. Now, that is still up for debate, ladies and gentlemen, in regards to, is a DAG more secure, faster? Perhaps you can achieve pretty insane speeds with a DAG. And certainly you can see just the kind of speeds that Hedera and the cost effectiveness of Hedera just here. But it's still kind of up for debate that. So a Hashgraph works effectively to verify transactions while ensuring the highest standard of security to prevent malicious attacks. Remember, there's always a pain point with blockchain. It's part of the trilemma or cryptos that has to be solved. So Hedera Networks service include Solidity-based smart contracts, as well as native tokenization and consensus services used to build decentralized applications. Now, we are going to go on and talk about tokenization because Hedera actually have partnered with LCX to develop an infrastructure for digital securities. And we're going to be playing a clip from the Hedera Bull, the Hbar Bull on Twitter. He did an interview with the founder of Toko Network. And they're essentially talking about the tokenization of just real estate and how big that is. You've got to think, and we did a video, we've done so many videos on Larry Fink's statement of the next kind of evolution of markets is tokenization. Hedera, because of their governing council, because of where they're positioned, could be in a pretty, and according to Toko Network, have been very much chosen to be in a position to do that. So let's move on to actually how Hedera works. We'll try and keep this video as short and sweet as possible, guys, and pack as much information in it as we can. So the Hashgraph consensus is essentially an alternative to blockchain consensus mechanism. So Hedera is not a blockchain. However, we are seeing the rise of DAGs. You guys, some of you will be familiar with the likes of Coty and so on and so forth. There's quite a few others out there. So it is a distributed consensus algorithm, like blockchain, it's distributed, and data secure that is fast, fair, and secure. So it does say it's distributed, and the consensus is kind of shared in regards to the validators, but the validators are all handpicked and institutions. What I mean about it's very different from the kind of traditional blockchain or what blockchain was born out of. Some people have a problem with that. Some people don't. From an investment point of view, we're very apolitical, I think. However, we are against things like CBDCs and such things, as we think they are they have negative repercussions. But that's for a totally different video, guys. And if you are new to the channel, please do consider watching my daily market updates. So Hashgraph consensus works using consensus timestamps and gossip. in which each node communicates everything it knows to random nodes in gossip events. So they talk to one another and they reach a consensus essentially through this gossip. It's kind of, if I could compare it to something, it's almost similar to how Chainlink works in regards to the data that it puts forward. You know, they all need to say the same thing essentially, and bad actors get punished. But in this case, of course, you're very unlikely to get bad actors, as the people who are in control of this are institutions that are obviously invested or interested in the project, I should say. So this indirectly creates a trusted community, even when members do not necessarily trust each other. Similar to Chainlink, like I said, the Hashgraph consensus algorithm enables a distributed consensus in an innovative, effective way. Hashgraph is a distributed consensus algorithm and data secure that is fast, so on and so forth. I believe I've just read that twice, guys. Do forgive me. It's been a long week. So this is an exceptionally interesting blockchain that is doing things differently and is very well positioned from a kind of institutional point of view. So just to explain a little bit more about a DAG, because a DAG looks like this. So your typical blockchains are kind of more horizontal. And you have a block, you have a period of time, and then you have another block, you have a period of time, you have another block. DAGs, and where DAGs are really useful actually is in regards to processing multiple data from the same transaction. Because with blockchains, you need to build layer 2s on top of that. DAGs kind of almost inherently have that. So enough of me rambling on about why I think DAGs are kind of cool, although you guys know I'm a blockchain kind of maximalist at heart, but Hedera uses a direct acyclic graph, and that's what DAG stands for. For its architecture instead of a blockchain, gossip about gossip is the history of how these events are related to each other through their parent hashes, resulting in a directed acyclic graph called Hashgraph. So this is where Hedera gets its name from. The network using the DAG technology is called Hedera Hashgraph, which supports Hbar as the native cryptocurrency. Hedera's development has taken a leaf out of Ethereum's book with allowing for dApps to be built and sort of decentralized applications. Now, when we move on to the governing council, it kind of seems quite logical that many of those companies that look to build their own applications may choose Hedera. And this is one reason why I think ultimately it's positioned for success. Let's move on to the governing council, guys, and then we will wrap the video up with a couple of partnerships. So the governing council. Hedera Hashgraph's governing council is composed of 25 corporations, including Google, IMB, Tata Communications, who we're about to hear from, and Boeing. The council's function is to lead the network decision-making and ensure it is continuously reliable. The council members support the project's decentralized ambitions through an establishment and operation of blockchain nodes and participate in government voting, among other duties. So in regards to, we could use Cardano as an example. Right, so we have a stake pool in Cardano. We are one of the validators. Anybody can set up a Bitcoin node, whereas you can't do that with Hbar. Now, at one point, it wasn't open sourced. It now is open source. So they are almost moving a little bit towards being a bit more decentralized. But from a node point of view, it's not very decentralized. Well, okay. It's not decentralized in the manner that anybody can be a node operator. Like anybody can mine Bitcoin or anybody can set up an Ethereum stake pool or whatever it is. But it is perhaps, there isn't just one centralized point here. A decentralization, I think people just think is like a token thing, you know, that is nice to have. But there's a lot of reasons to be decentralized, and security is a massive one. So these are some of the companies involved in the council. I think Hedera, off the top of my head, had around about 18 initial investors. I think Boeing was one, Horizon X Ventures, and Tata Communications, which we're not about to hear from now. But this is talking about tokenization and why actually Hedera is kind of a favorite. But you can see all the partnerships they've got here. Boeing, of course, Chainlink Labs, of course. Who's not partnered with Chainlink? Dell, LG, UCL, Ubisoft, Deutsche Telekom, IBM, Google, and so on and so forth. They have got a really interesting, and you know, I think maybe they've got 29 instead of 28 council members. Or sorry, no, I think 25 is the number, but including some of the blockchain partners. So I think there's a lot more to the hype. It's not just hype. I think there's a reason that people are excited about Hbar. I think it could potentially do quite well. Let's move on to this clip from the Hbar Bulls YouTube channel. I'm not familiar with it. However, I'll certainly be checking it out after finding this video and doing a bit of research in regards to Hbar. But this is him talking to Toko Network, Scott and Shannon, covering tokenized digital real estate. So you can see his Twitter here. Let's go ahead and play the clip.
And if we look at the ambitions of Toko and the tokenization of real world assets and the digitization, tokenization of everything, you start to realize that there's something much bigger than merely the crypto space. Now, I don't know what today's prices are, but crypto markets maybe $1 trillion today. It sounds like a lot. But working with, quarter homes, and we're talking about residential real estate, just residential real estate, just in the US. So one asset class, one fraction of an asset class in one country is $40-odd trillion. As an asset class globally, we're talking $200 to $300 trillion. And that's just real estate. And then you start looking at funds, private debt, equities, and actually private markets are far larger than public markets. So what we actually have is a perception, even in traditional finance, of the size of markets that's linked to very visible things like stock markets. But actually the private markets are 6, 7, 8, depending on what numbers you look at, times bigger than public markets. So actually we're talking about markets, 600 trillion, 800 trillion. These are the kind of numbers we're looking at in terms of addressable market. Now, how does that get to the answer to your question? Well, to me, what is going to be relevant is when I start entrusting my very valuable asset, whether it's a house or a financial product or an investable, interest of some sort. When I start entrusting it to a blockchain protocol, which one do I trust? And I think that's going to be essential. And if it becomes, when you get down to the technology, the governance aspects, this is why we joined Hedera so early on, where we looked at it from a technology point of view, from a scalability point of view, from a governing council point of view, and the sort of validator node and aspect.
We'll leave it there, guys. I don't want to play too much of that. You can go and find the Hbar Bulls YouTube channel or Twitter, I think it's on. I'm not quite sure, and check that out for yourself. But this is it. Their governing council makes them an institutional choice in many ways. Again, we've covered the project in a lot more detail on another video. Talking about tokenized assets, you can see Hedera Hashgraph and LCX to develop infrastructure for digital securities. Guys, cryptography is going to be used in everything. You can see they also have a partner with ATMA, who are driving quite a few transactions on Hedera. And you can see that these guys are very much a supply chain, digital identity kind of infrastructure. And you've got, the partnership here. So very interesting. Hedera, I do think, deserves a lot of the hype. Do I like the fact that it's potentially an institutional, do I want to use the word pet? I think that's not the right word at all. So please do not take that as what I'm trying to say it is. But it's kind of catching up to the institutions. And I think there's quite a few cryptos that are moving towards this. And the first movers will likely do quite well. And there's going to be many more to come. There is going to be a merging of these two worlds. Crypto is very small at 1 trillion. And you've got this colossal, probably $1,000 trillion market that is everything to collide. All I've got for you in this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Hedera. And if you've enjoyed the content, a like is appreciated. So as a comment, catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.